Well, hello again, everyone, and welcome to our latest webcast that we're bringing you from Travel Weekly as part of our Roadmap to Recovery series. And I'm joined today by Mark Johnson, who is the director and owner of Polka Travel, by Julia Bue-Said, who is the chief executive of the Advantage Travel Partnership, and Derek Jones, who is the chief executive of Touristik, which of course is the owner of Kuoni. So welcome all of you. You're joining me a week away now from a really important day for the travel industry, June the 23rd, the Travel Day of Action, which is being much talked about. We've got lots of people wanting to get behind it, but I want to first of all ask you, Julia, just quickly to outline what it is that you are calling for the industry to support.
Yeah, hi Lucy, hi everyone. So yeah, I mean the Travel Day of Action is really a culmination of 15 months of many organisations working together, lobbying government to work with us on a framework to restart international travel. What is really important about this day, given the shenanigans that we saw a couple of weeks ago of Portugal, that's really changed the sentiment and really changed certainly the mood within the industry and across all the different groups that are involved in this day. The Travel Day of Action is one day, one opportunity to make sure that we can really lobby MPs, as many as we can, get them down on College Green at the end of PMQs, Prime Minister's Question Times, and ensure that every agent, every individual within the industry has the opportunity to pre-book appointments with their MPs and meet them there. Also, the event is happening simultaneously in Belfast and Scotland. And we're looking at other events which will be virtually run as well. So really important opportunity. I also think it's just worth clarifying, this is not a protest. It is an organised lobby and it's very different. So and with an organised lobby, it's pretty challenging to try and coordinate the best of times, let alone making sure that we are absolutely complying with COVID restrictions. So there are limits on the number of people that can attend. So we have to make sure as a professional industry that we are managing this in a very civil manner and complying accordingly. So that's really important.
Yeah, all right. Well, let's come back to the sort of logistics of the day in a second. Just remind us very quickly, Julia, this is being run by or coordinated by Save Future Travel Coalition, is it? Just explain to us just quickly who is involved in that.
Yeah, of course, Lucy. So there's quite a lot of organisations. So you've got the Save Future Travel Coalition, which is 12 industry associations, which includes obviously Advantage, Travel Network Group, ATO, UK Inbound, I'm not going to remember them all off the top of my head now, APTA. So there's quite a lot of the core trade associations, BTA, that are all involved in this. And we've been meeting every week for the past year, actually. So a lot of the activity that we pulled together has come from that. In the Travel Day of Action, as well as those, we have Airlines UK, IATA, WTTC are involved. Many other organisations that really cover the breadth of the industry. We're all, whilst we're coming at it from different angles and we all need slightly different things, it's the one time that actually we have been able to come together with a united message. And just to be really clear, the messages here are around financial support for the sector, extension of furlough, tailored support given the restrictions that are in place, but also ensuring that we can restart international travel in a balanced way, but in a meaningful way as soon as possible. I mean, that's without question. We need that. They're the two key asks that everybody is completely aligned on. So so with some really, really big groups involved, some groups that we wouldn't normally work with, but I think it just shows you the strength of feeling that, given where we are at, to make sure we can work together in a united manner.
Yeah, well, you mentioned there that the sentiment had changed around that, Portugal being removed from the green list. So if I come to you, Derek, what do you think has changed then since that? Because obviously we're quite criticised, aren't we, that we don't pull together and we haven't lobbied effectively because there's so many different factions and different things going on. But now it appears that we really are doing something very coordinated. And is that because we now feel frustration based, or we've been frustrated for a long time, but what changed since that sort of that moment when Portugal was taken off the list and nothing else was really added?
I think well, to pick up on the lobbying point, first of all, I think that the industry has been lobbying relatively effectively. We don't always say there aren't big seismic movements in these things. What happens is that backbench MPs talk to constituents, they get letters from constituents, they form an opinion, and they do challenge government, they talk to ministers. And what was happening for a long, long time was that the overarching priority of everybody was the health and well-being of everyone in the country. It was to contain COVID, it was to get it under control and to take the appropriate measures. And as a country, we've all been very compliant. We've all been very cooperative. Everybody's played their part, and that includes the people in Parliament, the backbench MPs that we've all been talking to. But that lobby was working, and those opinions were shifting. And interestingly, the leader columns of the national newspapers began to shift even before that Portugal announcement. So suddenly you have the leader column in the Times dedicated half a page to talking about the lack of logic and coherence in the government position, that they had to understand the impact that these decisions were having on the travel industry. And then suddenly, having trailed the work of the task force, and the fact that it was going to come up with what was promised to be a process to facilitate safe travel. And having done that, and I applauded it when it came out. I mean, I sort of congratulated them on coming up with a system that would facilitate travel, acknowledging that might mean a slow restart, but it would be a way to restart. We understood the logic of the process. I think what happened with Portugal, and remember, it's not just what came off and went to amber, it's also what didn't go on. So places like Malta with zero COVID, effectively, the World Health Organization says there's no reason at all why anyone from the UK shouldn't travel to those destinations. The fact that they didn't come on and the likes of Portugal came off, suddenly the government's own system lost all credibility. So the very system that we'd supported, that they put in place to find a way out of this crisis, was clearly not being utilised the way it should be. And I think what became clear was that government decision-making was it's based on polling, not science. And I think that's the challenge we've got now, is the government know full well that 75% of the population, broadly speaking, support a harder approach to lockdown. And part of that is overseas travel. So I'm sure they're looking at the science, but I think they're spending more time looking at the output of opinion polls, and they know what's popular and what's not, and they know which challenges to take. And I think that... So
it's become political rather than scientific.
Yeah, and that's in their gift to do. If that's the way they want to run the country, that's the way they want to run the country. But I think to hide behind a traffic light system that is based on science, that was advertised as the solution for the travel sector, and then to completely ignore it.
Not operate it,
I tweeted simply, I've never seen the travel industry so angry. It's the biggest tweet I've had this year. It had 450 shares. It was seen by nearly 200,000 people, because it just, I think, touched a nerve. I think on that day, the travel industry just
captured the mood. Well, let's bring Mark in as a travel agent. Mark, I have to ask you to move your hands because we can't see your face. Sorry, can you just, that's all right. Tell us how it made you feel. Julia talked about this real change in the mood. Derek's talked about anger. Is that how you feel? Do you feel that they're just not treating us fairly? And as Derek said, if that's what they want to do, tell us, but then I guess support us, because we can't survive without it.
Yeah, I think Derek's right. I actually think Portugal was...
Oh, Mark, he's just frozen.
Move, and some consumer confidence, because prior to any announcement regarding the Portugal situation, because what you've also got to remember about Portugal, we took it off, but then they promised, was it a 2-week window? But they promised a 2-week window
for the green watch list.
Can you hear me, sorry?
We can hear you, Mark, but you're not moving. But if you keep going, we can hear you. Oh dear. Okay. Well, let's come back to Julia, because I could probably ask a similar question for you, because you've got a lot of members who will be in a situation, I guess, like Mark is, and we can hopefully he'll rejoin us and we can talk to him. But what are your members feeling? What are they telling you at grassroots, Julia? You know, things do seem to have now taken a turn for the worse with regards the likelihood of getting a good summer, which we all so desperately need.
Yeah, I think we absolutely have to stay optimistic here. You know, the reality is we do not know. We do not know. As Derek says, it's in the gift of the government to frankly do what they want, and they will continue doing that. So, you know, in one hand, we have to stay optimistic. There is still hope. However, you know, there is you know a lot of nervousness out there, a lot of devastated businesses, a lot of heartache, there's all those awfully sad stories of people's livelihoods being absolutely decimated because they can't trade. And the industry and the members want to trade. Mark's business wants to trade, but it's been taken away from him. So the industry is not looking for bailouts. The industry needs support to trade its way through to recovery. And we've not been given the opportunity. Businesses have not been given the opportunity to do that. And I think that's, certainly from what I've seen over the last couple of weeks, the reality is almost hit home that, we've had a framework, we were looking forward to it operating. The government has done a complete U-turn on its own policy and not allowed businesses to trade. And therefore, we're coming up to another summer, where does that leave us? And I think we're not seeing, there's no light. We've got to stay hopeful, but there is no light at the end of the tunnel right now.
Okay, Mark, sorry, we lost you. So start again. I was asking you if you felt the anger, and you obviously just heard a bit of what Julia was saying, some really desperate situations out there. Where are you at?
It is desperate. The problem you've got, Portugal, once you remove Portugal off the list, the consumer confidence went absolutely from totally rock bottom. Our sales, we were still doing a few bookings for 2022. Which was great. It doesn't help immediate cash flow, but obviously it helps forward sales. But even 2022 stopped for us. The consumer confidence went completely flat. I actually think Portugal was a political decision by removing Portugal. I think it's clear the government saying they don't want people travelling, because there was no need to take Portugal off that list. Derek mentioned I think it was Malta with 0 COVID cases. Why is that not on if they're following the science, if they're following the numbers? So confidence is completely flat. I've got no shops open at the moment, Lucy. I've got 19 shops. I've got landlords demanding rent, trying to do deals and wheel and deal with the landlords. Obviously, keep the communication channels open, talk to them. And we're doing very well with that, to be honest. The commercial landlords have been very understanding, but we've got 19 shops closed, and we've got a call centre that's open. So the call centre is serving our client base. But even the call centre now, to give you an indication, we had 10 staff pre-Portugal announcement. We had 10 staff looking after the 19 stores in effect. That's now down to 5 staff. We've had to half that down because there's no inquiries for any new business. Absolutely nothing now. The problem you've got, and I think why the mood has changed, starting to kick in with the either the bounce back loans or the C-bill loans in our particular case. We took a C-bill loan for a significant figure, and the banks are now on, and the repayments are due from next month.
Right. Yeah.
We took a large C-bill loan. Huge repayment on a monthly basis, so you've got that situation that's obviously coming in. You've got furlough that's looming around the corner. You've got the traffic light system that's been completely abandoned. They said they'd give you a 2-week grace. I think it was a 2-week grace. Well, they gave us about 4 days to get back again. So again, people are thinking, I don't know where I stand. I don't know where I stand to book a holiday. Even going to Portugal. So the whole consumer confidence is flat, and it's just very difficult. The pressure's now coming on you. You can feel the pressure with possible the furlough, saying people they're not extending furlough. And like I say, with the CBIL loan repayments for bounce back loans, CBIL loans all coming into play, and nowhere to sell, absolutely nowhere to sell. And I think what's also making it very difficult, and I think why the anger is there, the rest of Europe is opening up.
Yeah. America's
fully travelling. Their TSA numbers, I think, were 2.5 million the other day for people moving around in America. You know, I keep getting emails from Disney and Universal Studios. Face masks have now been dropped. It's optional if you wish to wear one. So what you see is the rest of Europe opening up and making a move, and you see us going backwards in effect, really. And I think that makes it, from a travel agent's point of view, you just sit there and you just get so worn out with it. You think, geez, you know, when's this going to finish? When's this going to end? You know, you read EasyJet relocating their aircraft across to Europe. You know, you think, you know, bigger planes needed because the demand's there, and Europe is now travelling. And the UK, there's no indicator of it travelling. You get Matt Hancock, the who comes on and does the press conference, and 3 times I counted during one press conference, stay in the UK, vacation in the UK, you know, 3 times. And it's like completely killed and absolutely flattened consumer confidence. And that makes it difficult, because where's the next penny coming from? No income for 15 months. Desperate situation. And, you know, I'm a big Twitter follower, and I use Twitter, and that's a huge thing, Lucy, as well. It's beginning to have a huge impact, because the pressure is mounting here. It's people's livelihoods. And I think that's why the mood has changed to anger, and it's frustration. Livelihoods are at risk. That's what happens. That's what people do. They fight, you know, and that's what's happening. But I agree with Julia. I think that if as one unit together fighting this, and obviously that, you know, let's hope the 23rd is a huge success. But I think by uniting and fighting together, it's certainly better than being fragmented and posting stuff, Twitter and travel gossip and the various other social media platforms. You know, we've got to come together as one. And you know, it's a shame. What's the gentleman's name? Hugh Merriman. Is it?
Hugh Merriman, yeah.
You know, he's fighting a corner very, very well, and
yeah,
he gives you hope, because you know, obviously there are people in the Parliament that are supporting travel reopening and whatnot. Theresa May's another one. So we do see snippets of that, and got to keep going.
Okay. Well, you talk about, you know, let's hope it's successful. Julia, what does success look like for you on June the 23rd? Is it around the numbers of people that turn out, and then what are you hoping to achieve, so people know why they're coming to London if they're planning to do that, or why they're doing more correspondence to their MP, etc. So just explain to us what you want people to do and what they can realistically hope they might achieve.
Yeah, so the ultimate objective here is for MPs across Parliament, across all the different assemblies, because obviously, you know, this is not just about the English government, this is also about the devolved nations, all standing up and supporting the need to you know, on the 2 R's, to extend financial support for the industry, but also to meaningful restart international travel using the framework, the risk mitigation framework, or the risk balance framework that the government put in place. That's what we need. So the ultimate, you know, benefit would be 24th of June is the next country review, the day before the event. How incredible could it be that we have, you know, if it's whoever it is that's going to stand up, and whichever Secretary of State stands up and says, actually, this is now, you know, on the back of the science, on the back of the data, on the back of, this is now what that country setting looks like. We've got a really critical, you know, 10 days really, because the 28th of June is also a really important day. It's obviously 2 weeks when the PM is going to be reviewing the domestic roadmap. That's 2 weeks from when he made the announcement on Monday. But it's also the day when they review the entire travel policy, the travel framework. So we may not see any action the day after the event. We may not see any action, but actually in the next 10 days, there are some critical milestones happening. So what success looks like is MPs across the nation, across the devolved nation, standing up, truly understanding the absolutely devastating impact the current international travel policy has on businesses and the needs right now for financial support, tailored financial support. That is what success would look like.
Okay. So we know obviously the domestic reopening now is extended out to July the 19th. So I think we're all pretty realistic that we're not going to be able to restart before then. But you think by June the 28th we could have some kind of indication of a roadmap for when international travel is that what you'd like to make sure happens?
Absolutely. 24th of June, country settings, what's going to happen there? Will they open up again? We'll see what happens there. But 28th of June, it's critical for the domestic roadmap because that is being reviewed then, but also from the international side. What that means, what that looks like right now, really have no idea. But it's critical. That's why the 23rd is such a critical time. That's why that date was picked. The day is after the ABTA Travel Matters conference, where we've got ministers in attendance as well. But it's also the day before the country review settings and a few days before that, 28th of June, which is critical. So every milestone is really important, but also the responsibility we all have for that day in the lead up. It's not just about going to London because there are not enough numbers. Because of COVID restrictions, it is limited. So we can.
Let's just talk about that just briefly. And sorry, Derek, I'll bring you in because I want to ask you something. But there's been quite a lot of feedback we've seen on our website. People going, "Oh my goodness, 400. That's not going to achieve anything. That's not enough. We're going to make a real statement here. We need to have loads of us marching on Parliament Square, and we need to have, people want to come out in force." And now you've obviously got this limit. And I think I know it's 2 lots of 400, but 400 in a group, people feel perhaps isn't going to be the big show, the big statement that anyone's going to listen to. And so what would you say to those people? I know you're bound by COVID rules, but can people go anywhere else? I know that's the limit on College Green, but if you get more people, will they just go in Parliament Square? What's going to happen practically?
If I can just give kind of an overall view on this or update on this. So again, to reiterate, this is not a protest. I know the anger, I know how people are feeling, but we actually have to really take a step back.
It's not a march, is it either?
It's not a march. So unfortunately, with COVID restrictions, you are limited anyway. So they're not numbers set by us, it's numbers set by the Westminster authorities. You have to get permission, you have to get a license to hold anything like this formally. We have a license for the maximum number of people allowed on College Green at any one time. We have to undertake risk assessments. The organisations are responsible. So we cannot have thousands of people descend onto College Green. It just cannot happen because ultimately, Lucy, the event will have to be cancelled because no organisation involved, and everyone in some shape or form is involved, can take that responsibility. We can't. So we have to be compliant, we have to be measured. At the end of the day, this is still a pandemic. We're in a pandemic. So no matter how angry we're feeling, Derek said it at the start, public sentiment right now is not behind us. What we can't do is risk anything causing us to have to cancel that event or anything looking at the industry puts us in disrepute. It would just be it would catastrophic for us all.
That would backfire. Yeah.
Completely backfired. So, my advice is that we've all got a way of being able to vent our frustration, not at each other. Come on now, we can't vent it at each other. That's just not getting anyone anywhere. We've got to vent it in the right way. Unfortunately, or not, we live in this democratic society. The only way that we can voice and vent our frustration is as our MPs. In the right way, So we have.
So sorry to interrupt, Julia, but 2 things. How many people have registered so far to attend for the total 800 spots, split into 2? I know. And have we got any agreement from any ministers yet that they will be coming to meet us and listen to what we've got to say?
Yeah, really good point. So I think the tickets right now have gone. So there are no tickets left. So anyone who hasn't registered will not be able to attend. And as I said before, and just to reiterate, you cannot come down. We've got to make sure that this is an obedient lobby, and it's done professionally, and I would urge everyone to reconsider it. And also, let's not forget, across the country there are areas which are under government guidelines restricted to enter and to leave, so we've got to make sure everyone's following those rules, no matter how we feel about it. We've got no choice. We've got so far, I think as of this morning, there are about 11 or 12 MPs that have confirmed. What we don't know, and what actually we do need everyone to do, so if you have an appointment with your MP, you need to let the address that was sent out, I think it's an ABTA email address, public affairs at ABTA, I think it was. Got to make sure that you let them know, because otherwise the organisers have no idea of who is attending or which MPs have agreed to attend. So that really is a call out for anyone that has registered, who's got an MP appointment. Please let ABTA know.
And that's an appointment at Westminster, or do you mean, because I know some people have got appointments on the same day, bizarrely, in their own constituency, which they're then doing as part of this, but you're talking about 11 actually coming to listen to us in Westminster, yeah?
Absolutely. And actually, even if you, because so a lot of the MPs clearly, because of COVID, are not travelling to Westminster still, so that's why there are opportunities to have virtual appointments and also local appointments. So really, anybody that has a meeting with any MP or SNP, or Assembly members, whether it's Belfast or even the Welsh Assembly, really need to let the organisers know, so that we can work through the messaging. And it's really important, because they will all get communication, so they're all going to be written to, so it can be coordinated in a manner that the organisers understand exactly which MPs are going to be attending.
I mean, I know, for example, Miles Morgan has got a meeting with his MP. I know Phil Nuttall has got a meeting with his MP, but they're in their own constituencies. So that's okay. Derek, as Cooni then, or as your business, what are you going to be doing on June the 23rd?
Well, as Julia said, the places are all filled. I'll be going down to London. Rachel, our PR director, will be going down to London as well. So we'll have a physical presence, but we're encouraging our staff to support the day in any way they can. I mean, to reiterate what Julia said, it's an extension of the lobbying campaign that's been ongoing for a long time. It's a turbocharging of that activity. So, and it does make a difference. This is how the corridors of power work. If everybody is getting the same messaging at the same time with a single voice and the same logic, then it does cut through, and it's already making a difference, and it will continue to make a difference. So yeah, we'll be encouraging all of our staff to contact their local MP, to add their voices, and to take to social media, to join in any way they can to support the day of action. And in doing that, we add our voice in a small way to everybody else's. And if we stick together and it is a single voice, then it is powerful, and we can make a difference. We just have to be really clear on what it is that we're calling for.
And you're in terms of social media, Julia, because obviously that's probably the easiest thing for people to get involved in. You'll be providing the messaging that Derek talks about, so that we're all on message, and you'll be providing that so people can post that in all the different channels that they operate in, so that we can all do that at a set time to really blitz.
Absolutely right. So there's a Twitter storm planned for the day, lots of social media activity, and as Derek said, it's all part of the process, all part of the lead up. So there's quite a big PR comms team involved across all the different organisations involved in putting all this together, and that should be out soon for everybody, so they can start really thinking about their social campaigns.
Okay, all right. And Mark, what's Polka Dot travel planning?
Yeah, very similar. We're planning the social media activity when the assets come out there to do that. Helen's actually, I think I'm not sure, we're just waiting for confirmation, but to meet a local MP as well. But we've written to MPs and had quite a few responses, in all fairness. So we're doing that, travelling down to London, and effectively just joining the course, really, Lucy, as Derek says, just to get the one voice, and see what we can achieve, and see if we can get them to listen, because I can't believe when you actually realise that the travel sector, outbound and inbound, is worth 65 billion pounds to the economy. It has to be important. I accept we're in a pandemic, and obviously the health is the first priority. But you know, we have to at some point restart international travel. You know, and I think we've got to do that, because the industry is in a very, very, very precarious situation at the moment. It really is, and it's, you know, they need to start listening. And I think a collective day like the 23rd of June, where we come back, you know, we all come together as one industry, you know, down in London, and plus the other various venues that we have, and plus the social media as well, then it hopefully will be a powerful message, which they will listen to.
Yeah, and in terms of getting this out wider, I know obviously we can talk to our MPs, but have you also engaged with sort of national media at all, Julia, so that we go on, Mark.
Yeah, I have engaged with media, with not national media, but I've engaged with local media in the trading areas that we've been, with local radio stations, Lucy. I've done that, to be honest, over the last 3 or 4 months.
Okay.
And I've been speaking to them about various situations as this pandemic and various things have unfolded. So I've been giving views and opinions on that. So, you know, it is, you know, if the 19th of July goes ahead and they open it up from a domestic point of view, then really the travel side of it is possibly the last industry to reopen, you know, because everywhere is open up. Again, I get a little bit frustrated because everybody talks about the hospitality industry, you know, and nobody seems to talk about the travel industry a great deal. We seem to be a forgotten industry. And if you listen to Boris Johnson's announcement the other day, I actually felt he was extremely dismissive when he was asked a question from a journalist regarding the reopening of international travel. And I think that also angered the industry, because it was just, the question was just swatted away, really, with very, very little. Probably didn't have the answer I would suggest.
Okay. And Julia, in terms of national media, do you think we will have some attention on us? And just with that in mind, 2-part question. I know people are already starting to make banners if they've got one of those 800 tickets. What do you want, you know, if people are lucky enough to have got one of the places, what do you want them to do? I mean, some people are bringing beach towels to wave. They want to make a statement. What do you want people to do?
I think that's great, isn't it? I think that, you know, if you've got a ticket, that gives you a great opportunity to personalise your approach, and everyone is free to bring along, you know, whatever they want. And I think that's, you know, having beach towels and palm trees and whatever else. Obviously, it's not just about travel, not just about holidays. It's a great visual way. So there will be visuals there. There will be kind of official visuals there in terms for media, etc. To kind of, you know, as backdrop. So they will be there. But yeah, I think anyone that's coming along, you know, we are a professional industry, so we want to make sure that we are on message and on point, but we can, you know, visualize and get that message across in the right way. I think it's absolutely great. I think, and also I have to say, I think it's fantastic that every part of the sector is really pulling together, whether that's virtually, online, everyone from an airport to an airline, travel agents, tour operators. I think it's incredible that everyone is really, for this event, coming together. But we've got to be on message. We've got to make sure we're professional. We've got the public sentiment against us, so we've got to make sure we can, you know, get a bit of sympathy alongside, because unfortunately that is what it's going to need as well. But really be really clear about what those messages are, and that, you know, I think if we can all follow that approach, it might feel a bit staged, and people might want to feel that they just want to vent their frustrations out, but that's not going to achieve what we want. It really won't. So I think we've got a massive opportunity here as an industry to get the message out everywhere. National media will follow it. We may even get TV, but we'll definitely get high profile coverage right across the trades, but also the national press as well, definitely.
Okay. Well, it sounds like, you know, you've got a lot of support already if those tickets have sold out. And for anyone watching this who hasn't got one, then there's still obviously loads that they can do to be part of it, as you've said. I want to just, you know, we've talked about it being a desperate situation. We've talked about it, you know, the sentiment changing, the anger. And I know some people will be feeling, like you said, there's very little light at the end of the tunnel. We don't want people to feel like this. This is a positive day. We want everyone to get behind it. And we need to keep up the fight, don't we, Mark?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's been a difficult 15 months, but you've got to keep up the hope, Lucy. You know, I think I've got the opportunity here. You know, I've no doubt about it. I can't. The business is where it's at. It's been dismantled with the pandemic. That wasn't in the business plan. It was in nobody's business plan. But what it has done, you know, I've come so far. 15 months down the line, what I'm not going to do is just give up now. You know, we've got to fight for this. We've worked too hard to build the business that we have in the first place, and I'm sure a lot of people will say that. So I'm just not going to give up. You know, and I'm actually got an opportunity to, because this will pass. This will go. You know, life has to get back to normal. It can't go on like this forever. So, you know, I've got an opportunity to rebuild the business back. You know, we've got the energy to do that and rebuild it back and rebuild it back better than what it was before. That seems a long way off at the moment, but that's the motivation that us three here as the directors have. You know, yes, our business has been dismantled. It's in a difficult situation, like everybody else in the industry, but I've still got an opportunity to come back and rebuild it back better than what it was before. And I still believe, and there is still a demand there for travel overseas. There's still a huge demand. We're a nation of travellers. We like to travel, different cultures. So I believe that, you know, it will bounce back. It'll bounce back very strong. And I want to make sure that I'm there, having survived 15 months. I want to make sure I'm there at the end of it when it does reopen, Lucy. And
yeah.
It's going to be a gentle reopening as and when it does get started, but hopefully, you know, that will get stronger and stronger, and more destinations will come, and the testing will drop off, and you know,
and more people will be vaccinated, and
absolutely, yeah, and we'll see sunshine again.
Oh, I hope so. And Derek, let's give you the last word. Do you feel the same as Mark? You know, you've still got fire in your belly to keep up the fight, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, for all the arguments and debates and actions that we're taking, the travel industry is a people business. It always has been a people business. Maybe actually, you know, you can't help but reflect in the sort of people that work in travel. We're not actually very good at this conflict thing. Like, this is not what we do, really, is it? You know, we're much more collaborative than that. We like to find the middle ground. What we do is send people on the best 2 weeks of their year. You know, we're about happy times, not difficult times. And I think a lot of people have found this really difficult and really challenging. And I think they're quite understanding of why the industry has had to do what it's had to do. And so for me, it comes down to two very simple things. One is, tell us the logic of why you're doing what you're doing. Help the industry to understand so we can deal with the consequences. Help us to plan and to understand what's coming by sharing the logic. And then deal with the consequences of your actions. So whatever the actions are that you need to take, explain them clearly, but deal with the consequences. And I think if we can just get that message across with one voice coming together, and we can start to persuade those that count in Parliament to understand our predicament, and those in the media that can help us with that message as well. And I know we're knocking on an open door now. The media will be there in force. They will support the stay of action. Radio will be there. TV will be there. If we can push that message out, but always with the authentic voice of travel people, because that's the most important thing. We have to be true to ourselves. You know, we are positive people. We do know there's another side to this. There's no debate that the world will travel again, and the British public will travel again. And when they want to and they can, we will be there for them. And that's all we're asking for, is some help to make sure that we are.
Make sure we are. All right. Well, you can count on Travel Weekly's support, absolutely. And thank you all for your time today. And we wish you all the best for your involvement in the Travel Day of Action. And Julia, I'm sure you'll be on all the national media as one of the industry spokespeople you have been over the last few months. So we hope you get that chance to put our case across. So for now, thank you to Julia from Advantage, to Derek from Touristik and Crony, and to Mark from Polka Travel. Thank you all very much, and best of luck for June the 23rd.
Thanks, Lucy.